The Invisible Boy. The name that no longer impresses. Los Angeles never slept, but Justin Bieber felt his relevance fading. Years ago, just stepping out of his house was enough to gather crowds screaming his name, wanting a touch, a picture, a moment by his side. But lately, things had changed. That night, he decided to go out alone, without security or entourage. Just him and his desire to prove he was still someone. He chose a discreet restaurant, not too luxurious, not too simple. Something in between, where he could be recognized but not bothered. Upon entering, he noticed that no one looked his way. The waiters served as usual, and the customers were busy with their meals and conversations. He picked a table in the corner and waited. The waitress arrived a few minutes later. She was a young girl, probably in her early 20s, hair tied up carelessly, her uniform slightly wrinkled. "Good evening. What would you like?" Justin paused for a moment. No sign of recognition. "Can I see the menu?" She handed it to him without emotion. While pretending to look at the options, he thought, maybe she's just trying to act professional but already knows who I am. When she returned to take the order, he couldn't resist asking, "Do you know who I am?" The waitress raised her eyes for a second. "Are you famous or something?" Justin blinked, surprised. "I'm Justin Bieber." She frowned, thought for a moment, then snapped her fingers. "Oh, I think I've heard that name before. You used to sing those old songs, right?" Justin's heart sank. Old songs? Is that how people saw him now? "Yeah, I still sing, actually." "Oh, cool. I'll be back with your order." And she walked away, utterly uninterested. The taste of humiliation. Justin stared at his phone, unable to focus on anything. The waitress's indifference affected him more than it should have. He knew not everyone had to be his fan, but not being recognized? That was new. A few minutes later, the waitress returned with his order. She placed the plate on the table mechanically, as if serving any other customer. No smile, no sign that she recognized him as someone special. "Here's your steak. Anything else?" Still trying to salvage a bit of his ego, Justin forced a laugh. "You really have no idea who I am? None of my songs? No headlines?" The waitress sighed impatiently. "Look, man. I work 2 jobs and study at night. I don't have time to keep up with celebrities." He opened his mouth to respond but found no words. For the first time in years, he felt insignificant. As she walked away, he heard giggles from the next table. 2 guys whispered to each other, glancing at him sideways. One of them, tall and with a mocking expression, turned toward him. "Hey, man, rough being famous, huh?" The other laughed. He thought he'd walk in, and everyone would freak out. But I guess even the waitress doesn't care. Justin forced a smile, trying not to show how much it bothered him. He picked up the fork and cut a piece of the steak, but the flavor seemed distant. The food was there, but his appetite wasn't. Deep down, he knew time passed for everyone. But knowing and feeling were 2 very different things. He tried to distract himself, but then the waitress's voice sounded again, this time at the counter. "What name for the check?" "Bieber." She typed without hesitation. "And the first name?" "Justin." She frowned. "Wait, are you the Justin Bieber?" For a second, Justin felt relief. But then came the real humiliation. The waitress simply shrugged. "Oh, got it. Here's your check." No surprise. No emotion. Nothing. That "oh" hurt more than any boo he'd ever heard in his career. The weight of the past. Justin left the restaurant feeling the weight of the night on his shoulders. He walked slowly down the street, city lights flickering around him, but nothing seemed vibrant. Everything was a blur. The waitress hadn't recognized him. The guys at the next table mocked him. And in the end, even when his name was registered on the bill, nothing changed. no reaction, no impact. He shoved his hands into the pockets of his hoodie and kept walking aimlessly. The cool night air in Los Angeles contrasted with his restless mind, filled with thoughts. When did this happen? When did I go from being a sensation to just some guy? He pulled out his phone and opened Instagram. His latest post still had millions of likes, but the comments were full of jokes, comparisons to new artists, people saying his best days were behind him. He sat on a park bench. A group of teenagers walked by, laughing and listening to music on a phone. He paid attention to the song. It wasn't one of his. In the past, wherever he was, his songs were playing. In cars, in stores, in fans' headphones. Now, it all seemed to belong to a new generation. He took a deep breath and looked at his hands. As a kid, they held a guitar and captivated crowds. Now, they clenched into fists, trying to hold onto something slipping away like sand through his fingers. Was he really fading away? Had his time truly passed? The night carried on, but inside him, it felt like something was coming to an end. The voice that never fades. Justin sat on that bench for a while, watching people pass by. Some glanced at him without any sign of recognition. Others didn't notice him at all. It was strange. For years, he was used to being the center of attention, and now it felt like he had become a ghost. He thought about calling a car and going home, but something inside stopped him. Instead, he kept walking, following the city's sounds. That's when he heard something familiar. Across the street, a young man was playing guitar and singing. His voice was good, but what really caught Justin's attention was the song. It was Love Yourself, one of his own compositions. The boy was performing for a small group of friends who laughed and sang along. None of them seemed to realize that Justin Bieber himself was standing on the sidewalk, listening. He could have walked away. He could have ignored it. But instead, he crossed the street and stopped in front of the boy. "You sing well," he said with a small smile. The young man looked at him, confused for a moment. "Thanks, man. You like Justin Bieber?" Justin chuckled softly. "A little." The boy grinned and kept playing. "This song's a classic. My older brother used to listen to it when I was a kid." The word classic caught Justin by surprise. But for the first time that night, it didn't hurt. "Mind if I?" he asked, pointing to the guitar. The boy hesitated but handed it over. Justin sat on the steps of a building and started playing. The boy's friend stopped talking and stared, intrigued. When he began singing, one of them widened his eyes. "Wait, dude, that's Justin Bieber." The group was stunned. Someone pulled out a phone to record. But in that moment, Justin didn't care. He just played, feeling the music vibrate through his fingers. The truth hit him hard: fame might come and go, but music never fades. He didn't need everyone to remember his face. He didn't need a waitress to know who he was. His voice was still there. His art still mattered. And as he played under the lights of Los Angeles, he realized that was all that truly mattered.